So before I went to bed last night, I listened to different versions of the song The Ritual, the one we just had. And oh my gosh, it's amazing how different the songs can be. The Ritual is technically two songs in one. It's got a first half and a second half. The first half being Aphrodite's half, the second half being Grace's half. And wow, I found my favorite version of a song, which is impossible in the game. I like the first half in full red. Hearing Aphrodite sing with such pain and anger it was beautiful. It was the best way that she sings the first part. So the first part fully in red, and then the second part in green. So the ending I got, but more green oriented. It's the better ending for the song, I feel. It's such a sad, mournful song, but with hope at the end. The second half of Red is odd. It's everybody saying everybody wants her to fall in love again, which is a nice sentiment, but not wholly relevant at this point in time. This woman is trying to get over trauma, and we're like, we want her to love again. It doesn't even have to be romantically, just love in general. But I don't know that was really the best approach for a lady that's in pain. So, and some of it just sounded a bit off. And then the blue second half is the worst one. It's a jazz number and it's not great. So yeah, the green was definitely the best option. I'm glad I went down that branching chain. And yes, your choices the whole way through dictate what songs you get. But in that particular song, the final choice was what you get. So even though I went down a green path, my final choice was red, so I could choose to tell her to stop the ritual and don't go through with it. I don't know if that's going to be true of every other song. I did not want to spoil anything for myself by investigating how each song works, so I'm not quite sure whether all my choices matter for the outcomes I want, or whether the choices just matter for how the songs flow. I'm not too sure. And that's okay. But yeah, I just thought I'd really let you know that I have heard other versions of the song, and that's my favourite, Red into Green. And it makes me really appreciate The Ritual as a song now. I mean, I already liked it as I listened to it, but having heard the red version and then reaffirmation of re-listening to the green version, it's actually a really beautiful song. I really like it. So I'm excited to see what other songs we have, if they can top that, because that was actually really good now that I've listened to it several times. Anyway, what are we doing? Yeah, you know what? Let's go see Pan. We haven't seen the man. Let's just go do it. He's been waiting for us for an entire day. Hi, Pan. This is a garden. This is lovely.
I'd say hello, Grace, but I'm afraid that look on your face might be catching.
What is this place?
It's a garden, darling.
Yeah, I see that.
Surely even mortals have them.
This building. All those people I pass getting up here. Are they all idols?
Oh, at least some of them. Welcome to Olympus, dear Grace. Our home hidden away in plain sight. Marvelous, isn't it?
Well, I think it's beautiful. A little small, but beautiful. Is Olympus hidden?
I've passed this part of the city 100 times. I've never seen this building. Was it always here, or...?
Our Lady Hecate provides glamours that allow certain things to go unseen, such as my glorious horns.
Cool.
Olympus is the same. Those invited see it. Those who aren't see exactly what they expect.
Also cool.
It's not anywhere as grand as in the old country, but it serves its purpose.
Does it make you feel nostalgic? This isn't grand. Oops, I was
I don't know,
using the keyboard,
Pan.
wasn't I?
Olympus seems pretty grand to me.
Oh, also, as I edited the videos, I realized that I spoke way too much over the songs, but the ritual in particular, but I was panicky, I was stressed, I was nervous, I didn't want to pick the wrong options, and it made me talk more than I should have. So I'm going to try and be silent in the songs going ahead.
As if mortals would know any better. This isn't the first time you've been here. I'm sure Hermes took you to Athena's dreary office.
Oh, that's located here.
That's here? Huh.
I see.
Good one, that Hermes. Almost as dull-witted as the original, but biddable.
Okay. How many idols are there?
How many idols are there? I've met, less than 12?
Oh, I don't know, 20, 30. Our numbers have dwindled so much I've stopped keeping track.
I didn't know
sad.
there were that many gods.
We're not all equally legendary, it's true. Some idols were barely worshipped, others not at all. Indeed, not all of us are idols. Some are merely immortal. Hangers-on, if you will. You'll meet them all, given time.
Hangers on. Do most idols live here?
Idols live here? I mean, Calliope didn't, obviously. Apollo doesn't either.
One must have special dispensation from Our Lady of Wisdom, Athena, before they can take up a private dung heap like Apollo's.
Really?
Am I gonna have to give up my apartment?
That's rather putting the cart before the horse, darling. First, you must outlive the week.
That's putting things into perspective. Thanks, Pan.
Right. Good point. You asked me to meet you here?
I did. As I recall, you owe me a favor that I now wish to collect, if you'd be so kind.
Okay, what is it? Is it within my power to attain? I was expecting this. Apollo was right about you. I'm not breaking rules for you.
Oh, sure. I'm totally in a position to help others right now. Lay it on me.
Here's the thing. A friend has begged for my help, and you're far better suited than I to offer what he requires. I'll give you a key to reach the reliquary where he resides. You help him, and then we're even.
May I ask why he resides in a reliquary? It's not usually a place people live.
If that's not enough incentive, the reliquary is also where you'll find the lovely Hecate.
Ooh, yeah.
A sorceress of her power could aid your quest.
Absolutely.
What do you say?
I said from the beginning we should be seeing Hecate when you first mentioned her, so I'm on board. I mean, I know what a reliquary is, but we'll start
What is
here.
this reliquary? Doesn't that have something to do with the bones of saints or something?
Not those relics. Our relics. The relics of ancient gods. Magical treasures collected over thousands of years.
But the point still stands. That's not the kind of place you sleep in or reside in.
Books, mainly. We store them in a faraway place so no one unsavory can get their hands on them.
Unsavory like you?
Unsavory like most. Athena has decreed that these relics are not to be used by any save Hecate and herself.
And why does Athena put herself in that category? Why is she so high and mighty that she gets to have that special permission? Hecate I can understand because she has the stronger, more ancient type of magic. And I agree that she should have access to it, but I don't think Athena should.
A rather
questionable.
dull waste of so much amassed knowledge and power, but
Also
who
true.
am I to judge? I'm not leader of the chorus.
I don't think Athena should be either. Is reliquary dangerous? Well, he said it was books.
If these relics are off limits, does that mean they're dangerous?
Some, but I'm not asking you to chase after any of that nonsense. In fact, I'd advise against it.
But what if one of those relics could help me?
My, such an adventurer you are. It's possible, but ask Hecate first. She, and I mean this with complete and uncharacteristic seriousness, is not an idol you or anyone wishes to cross.
Haven't I heard that before? Would Hecate really help me?
This Hecate, do you think she could help me?
If she's of a mind. She is the goddess of dark magic, the creator of all our marvelous glamours. If anyone can help you, it is she.
And if she's not
Oh, yeah.
of a mind?
How do I get her on my good side?
Then she won't help you. Grace, that part is up to you. I can't be expected to do everything, can I?
Can you at least tell me what appeals to her? Somebody, was it you? Yeah, I think it was you. Said Persephone lacked power. Or was it Apollo? I get lost as to who said that. And then Eros told me to appeal to Aphrodite to get her to change her mind. I had to inspire her and, whatnot. Can you give me any hints for Hecate? What kind of favor is this?
This person I'm to help, what does he want? And why can't you do it?
Well, Grace, there are some things you're better equipped to handle than I. This, as I understand it, is a delicate matter of the heart.
The song is required.
One that requires a muse's hand.
A matter of the heart.
What, did you think I was sending you to rough someone up? Set something aflame? Don't be absurd.
Can you be
The
specific,
man
though?
has an issue with his love life.
Okay.
Even if you can't help him, I'll treat the effort as worth the favor.
Great. So the outcome doesn't even matter. Brilliant. That's it.
So that's it? fix up someone's love life? Nothing trickier than that?
Oh, the way you talk, Grace. It makes me blush.
Well, it's just
I
that...
trade in willing favors, Grace. If I didn't, no one would want to do as I ask, and then where would I be?
Bored.
I may seem untrustworthy, but allow me to reassure you. If I wish you harm, you will walk into that harm knowingly and with open arms.
I imagine I would. You have a very sly tongue, indeed he does, but Apollo is waiting for us with that really bad love song. Did Calliope do that?
What about Calliope? Did she walk into harm knowingly and with open arms?
You tell me. I could deny it, of course, but if you choose not to believe anything I say, what's the point of asking the question?
A really, really good point, and I don't have an answer for you.
I'll think about it, but no promises.
Marvelous. The gentleman you seek is named Asterion. Lovely fellow, quite harmless. Now, if
He
there's
says
nothing
that.
else you need.
I don't trust that. What do you know about Medusa? Oh, hey, we can ask him about Medusa. Great.
That depends. What can you tell me about Medusa?
That is a rather peculiar subject change.
No,
Her
kind
name
of
came up
on
at
point.
Aphrodite's
Yeah.
party. I'd like to look into it.
You'll find Medusa at a dingy little club appropriately named the Viper's Nest. Give her my regards.
Is she gonna like your regards?
Do tell me you'll be careful if you go there, Grace. Medusa is a hideous creature and should be treated as such.
On the inside or the outside? Oh, you're worried. What does that mean? I'll be careful. I mean, I like the response, but I don't want to ruin Apollo's romance. Otherwise, that's a wasted effort.
Okay, I give up. How does one treat a hideous creature?
With a great deal of respect, if you know what's good for you. I'll send a package to your domicile that contains directions and the key you'll need to reach the reliquary.
I said no promises.
Well, if you decide to go, Grace, you'll still need all those things. Say hello to darling Hecate on my behalf, will you?
Okay. Bye. Should we ask Apollo about Hecate and Asterion? If he even has anything to say about it.
Hello again. I can't remember the last time I had guests so frequently.
Well, isn't it just the one
I did
guest
tell you we
frequently?
could discuss your memories and the Eidolon more in depth after the party. Did you have any questions, or?
Oh, okay. Apparently no questions about Hecate. Will I feel different as I change?
When all these memories start to return, will I feel different?
Well, let's see. It starts as dreams you'll have of places you've never been, people you've never met, fleeting images, feelings. Then they'll appear while you're awake. You'll be eating breakfast and suddenly recall when you last ate something similar in the 17th century. The only difficult part is that eventually it can be hard to differentiate between your life and all those other lives. They blend together.
It does sound confusing.
Is this his only life?
A little, yeah.
Or has he gone through this before himself? Because he sounds like he's speaking from personal experience.
And not all the memories will be good ones. It can take time to process.
You said it becomes hard to differentiate your life from the others. How hard, exactly? It'll still be me, right?
Grace, would you say that who you are is at least in part due to your experiences?
Yes.
I guess so, sure.
Well, you'll have a lot more experiences. They won't feel like someone else's either. It will feel like you did all those things. They will shape who you are now, just as they shaped Calliope and all those who came before her. The good news is, you won't get all the memories. Each time we pass on, the older memories fade.
That's convenient, so you're not overrun by memories that aren't yours, but also really sad because they're probably some of the precious memories because they're before a time when you were dying and passing on.
Wait, how is it good that old memories start to fade?
We're many thousands of years old, Grace. If all of those memories returned with perfect clarity, you'd drown in them.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean you've all forgotten so much?
Tell me, how much do you remember from when you were a small child?
Not a damn lot.
Bits and pieces, I guess. Not much.
It's the same for us. The further I try to think back, the more blurry it becomes. I remember the important bits, but little else. Some of the really old memories. There's so many mortal stories that get mixed up with them, things my previous selves learned as legends. It becomes hard to tell. It takes time, Grace. You'll remember all the lives you've led, but at a pace you can handle, and nothing more.
Okay.
How many times have you died? Can I ask that?
Well, we call it passing on, meeting the Eidolon, and it's fine. I've passed on 12 times that I can recall.
So your name isn't really Apollo?
Most recently it was Lucas. Everyone Lucas ever knew is gone, however, so these days I prefer Apollo again.
Lucas? Seems weird to think of you as a Lucas.
It was weird for him, too. Much like yourself, Lucas becoming Apollo was somewhat of a surprise.
Sounds like there's a story there.
Interesting. Because they did say that usually they choose their successors.
Tell me about this Lucas. How did he become you? Or is it how you became Apollo?
Apollo had taken to surfing.
Here's a
He
beach
left
bomb.
the city without permission and roamed the coast looking for... Well, I'm not sure now. Whatever it was, he found it one night when a giant wave took him down. He was drowning, and I thought, this is finally it. But it wasn't. Lucas saw Apollo struggling and swam out to save him. He pulled us ashore, but it was too late. It took a long time to realize what happened. I didn't return to the city until years later. By then, everyone thought I was Apollo's chosen successor.
So no trial for you, huh?
It wasn't easy at first, without memories or anyone to guide me, but no, nothing like that.
I feel like there's still a lot more to his past that he's not really sharing, which, is fine. I don't need your life story considering how old you are. But the way that he's so sad and introspective and nostalgic but also guilty, there's something in his past that's made him that way, and I just don't know what it is.
Wait, what would have happened if Lucas hadn't tried to rescue you? What if no one was there when you...
When I died, then the Eidolon of Apollo's line would have ended forever, I think.
You think?
There have been stories about Eidolons that survive for a time and go wandering.
Are we going to find Hephaestus's soul? Nah, Hephaestus is dead. Let's accept that and move on.
That's probably all they are, though. Stories. It's not something we've had much opportunity to study, but normally death without passing on is how an idol really dies. Forever.
It's
Okay.
a lot to consider.
Well, that was depressing.
Assuming I'll even have time to worry about it, what with the trial coming.
Hopefully this eases whatever concerns you might have had. Anything else you'd like to discuss while you're here?
Hecate. No Hecate. But thank you. It's nice to get a glimpse into his past.
I'd like to know a little more about the idols. I am one now, right?
You are. What would you like to know?
I don't
Well,
know.
What are we? Where did we come from? If an idol is a soul that moves from person to person, it must have started somewhere, right?
The short answer is, we don't know.
Because you don't know, or because your memories
I think
have faded?
far enough back I can remember
Yeah.
bits and pieces. I remember my first Pythian games, the day the idols split in two over Troy, the day my first son died. But before that, nothing. None of us do. I vaguely recall the very first Apollo many thousands of years ago, but was he the original? Did he appear out of the ether? I couldn't tell you.
Psst. Isn't it strange to not know where you come from? For all you know, the idols could be aliens.
Interesting. The notion that there might be some other place far away where we're the norm is comforting. Sadly, our memories are filled with blanks. There was a war with beings we called the Titans. A terrible conflict where half our number died, yet do I remember a single battle. The last was after Rome fell. Zeus called us together to relay the news.
What happened to Zeus, by the way? We've had no mention of him, no mention of Hera, so I assume they're permadead. How?
Told us to prepare for battle. And then, in the blink of an eye, I was in the 16th century.
Damn, you guys skipped a lot of time.
What made us forget 1,000 years? What happened during that time? We don't know. Athena calls that period the gap.
Did Zeus die during that time?
The gap you mentioned. What was that like? Did you just wake up one day, or...
I know I was alive. I passed on my eidolon who knows how many times, yet the moment I woke up, as you call it, all memory of that period was gone.
Because it was wiped from your memory. Why? Because somebody didn't want you to know what happened during that 1,000 years. My money is still on Athena because I guess she rose to power after that period of time. And she used forbidden knowledge from the reliquary from Hecate's library to do it. And that's why it's forbidden.
It was Athena who found us. I was in France, I think. She came to my farm, and the moment I laid eyes on her, I just knew. It all came back. Did someone do that to us? Did we scatter to the winds for 1,000 years on purpose? It's a mystery.
What about Athena? I mean, she's the one who found you, right? She must have been aware.
Athena claims she awoke on her own and spent the next century locating the other idols. We've pieced together very little of the gap or of our origins. We simply live with it. Gods we may be, but I'm afraid we don't have all the answers.
That definitely throws Athena in far more questionable territory. Did you say you had a son?
Earlier you mentioned your son dying. Did I hear that right? Can idols have children?
It was rare, but yes. Back in ancient times, some of them even became idols themselves.
Some of the idols are actually family then.
Not anymore. Most of our children met terrible ends. A gift of the fates, perhaps. I don't know.
That's tragic.
The ones who weren't idols. It's hard. Watching your children grow old and die. Never understanding why they can't have the same immortality you do. Why you can't grant it to them.
That sucks.
My first son is why I'm not permitted in Hades any longer. Let's simply say that most idols have stopped having children, and maybe leave it at that.
His son died horrifically. Or he just couldn't handle his son's death. That's so sad. 2 more at the war.
Tell me more about the war. It seems to have had a huge effect on all of you.
I don't think we would have left the old world otherwise. It was home.
From Aphrodite's song, I know Ares betrayed everyone. What did you do?
I caused it. I foresaw what was going to happen, so I tried to prevent it. I told Ares. I figured if the god of war couldn't stop what was to come, then...
And that's why he betrayed everyone.
He decided the idols were a lost cause. Because I told him we were.
And because it's one of your prophecies that once you have, it's definitely going to happen, he believed it to be true. Ah, it sucks.
Has your power ever helped anyone?
Oh, that's
Even once?
extra savage.
On occasion. The fates are cruel, however, and they don't like being meddled with.
So why didn't they give you extra powers
My
to
time
compensate?
afterwards was spent helping the survivors, keeping us on the move. If Hephaestus hadn't intervened, we would have all been captured.
And he's...
Oh, gone now, we assume, like so many others. We are nothing more than refugees from a war long over, Grace.
I'd like to know a little more about you. All I know is you live in a dump, you have an oracle, and you...
I'm not sure what to tell you. One day has bled into the next for so long, I feel like I've been lost in the spaces in between.
Wow, that's a bit dramatic.
Yeah, well, it comes naturally. Music and the arts were once under my purview as a god.
How did that get decided? Did you have a big hat full of pieces of paper and you all picked at random?
I mean, that's one way to do it.
No, we chose them for ourselves. Some, at least. Others were given to us by our priests. We collected godly responsibilities like marbles.
People collect marbles?
Oh, whatever it is.
What do you mean people collect marbles? Doesn't every generation go through a phase throughout childhood of collecting marbles? It's one of those trends that just keeps resurging every generation. It's really weird. So what do you mean people collect marbles? Yeah, it was a thing.
Mortals collect these days. Cars?
God, no,
Perhaps?
cars are expensive. Marbles are free.
The point
Well, when you
is,
take them from other
we
people.
took our godly duties very seriously.
Okay.
You must have been very different back when you were a proper god.
More confident?
I think
Less
most of us
well-weary?
were.
Guilty?
We saw ourselves as, I don't know, teachers. Mortals were our students, and we guided them to enlightenment. We thought we were special, infallible. I was as magnificent as the sun, and I surrounded myself with those who basked in my radiance.
That doesn't sound like you.
I was arrogant. If there was a man or woman I desired, then I had to have them, or there would be consequences. You wouldn't have liked me. I wouldn't have liked me.
So many questions. I mean, this is great, but I also didn't need this much lore.
Was it hard for the idols to come to the new world? It's just a place like any other, isn't it?
I don't think it was the place so much as the condition we were in. Shell-shocked, one might say. Our entire world had been turned upside down. Suddenly, we had rules. Secrecy was paramount, and no one was permitted to leave the city. Some, like my sister Artemis, couldn't abide it.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Goddess of the hunt. And a wild thing herself. She left, I think. Faded away without a word. As many did in the early days here.
That's so sad.
Later, Athena became even more strict. For our own good, of course, but it hasn't been easy. This city has never felt like home, so much as a temporary shelter.
So what is Persephone's beef with you exactly? Is it just about what Hades did to her?
That's no small thing.
It seems more personal than that.
I mentioned how Persephone's kidnapping almost meant war between Olympus and Hades, yes? Well, while this was all going on, Persephone managed to escape the underworld, and I'm the one she encountered first.
Uh-oh.
Hades was hot on her heels, and I had a choice. Either do battle with Hades and start the war right then and there, or let him take her back.
So you sacrificed one for the sake of many.
Zeus would have had my head if I had sparked a war. Yet all I still think of are Persephone's eyes as Hades smugly took back his prisoner. It's not my finest moment.
Have you ever tried therapy? I mean, I recommended it for a lot of people already, but definitely for you. You could benefit from it.
Apollo, have you ever tried, I don't know, talking to someone about how you feel?
I will never understand this modern fascination with therapy and focusing on one's feelings.
It might help. You never know.
Yes, I've tried it. There was one I used to speak to. Hecate enchanted him never to reveal what I told him.
That is really intelligent. I'm glad you guys thought about that.
It was
Failsafe. Protection.
interesting. Frankly, my time with you has proven far more beneficial.
I'm not a therapist, Apollo.
I understand. And I don't mean to rely on you, only that it makes me happy just to know you, Grace.
Well, that's nice. Anyway, the conversation I've been avoiding until the end. Tell me more about Calliope.
Tell me more about Calliope. You and her were good friends, right?
For centuries, we were far more. I was the god of the arts, and the Muses were my constant companions. We went everywhere together. They had many names, but the three most common were Clio, Talia, and Calliope. The Sisters of Beauty, I called them, though they weren't always women.
I never thought of that. Do idols change gender a lot?
Most of us seek out inheritors who are like us, I suppose, but not all. Calliope, in fact, was a man in our previous incarnation. Christoph, I think his name was. A poet Calliope adored. I was surprised when she made him a muse.
Who did Calliope become after that poet, Christoph?
You have to realize we're already into the period where Calliope and I weren't really speaking. She showed up one day in her new form, the one you met. An opera singer whose name she never revealed. We fought, as I recall. I told her she couldn't pass on every time she met an artist she fell in love with. Eventually she'd forget everything about who we were and where we came from. She said she'd rather forget than wallow in old memories like I or the other idols were doing. It was time to wake up and make the best of our situation. Calliope was an idealist without compromise. Always. She hated what we'd become. What I'd become. She wasn't wrong.
It feels like Calliope's doing the same thing as Aphrodite, but just sooner. And for slightly different reasons, but it still feels like she was running from the past, running from the memories. It's just not as tragic as Aphrodite's. So what exactly was Calliope guilty about? Because that's the sense we got from her and the little we knew of her. She felt guilty about something and accepted that this was her retribution. But we don't know what happened. What was she guilty of? What did she feel like she owed to the world?
From how you describe it, you and Calliope fought a lot.
As often as we saw each other, which became less and less as time wore on. However, she fought with everyone. Calliope hated the idols being kept secret. She and Athena would get into screaming matches over the rules, and it got so I could no longer protect her. She moved out of Olympus years ago and kept to herself. I just assumed she was wrapped up with some new artist when I got the news.
Do you regret not making up with her?
Every day I think about our last conversation and what I should have said or done differently. The problem with immortality is that you think you have all the time in the world.
Well, it sounds like Calliope was soon going to give up her life anyway, if that's what she does when she finds someone who appeals to her. She seemed intrigued by Grace, so I think she was going to give up her life for Grace anyway, just, after they developed more of a relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it.
It wasn't only fighting with Calliope, right? Surely there were good things too.
Is that how it sounds? No. She was marvelous. A force to be reckoned with if there ever was one. In the darkest days during the war, it was her songs that gave us hope. She kept Aphrodite alive through sheer determination, I think. Calliope cared. About us, about art, about people she'd only just met. It was her greatest strength as well as her greatest weakness.
I wonder why she picked me. I don't feel like I'm any of those things.
You underestimate yourself, Grace. I see a lot of her in you. She chose well.
We're still not picking up on the part that I need to hear about her.
What happened to the other muses? You mentioned 2 others. Were they lost in the war?
Cleo perished centuries before. The victim of an obsessed writer she'd spurned. He kept her in a cage as his personal muse.
That's horrible.
Ugh, that's pretty dark.
It was. By the time we found her, she was already... Well, it's enough to say her captor didn't survive her for long. Talia, however, was lost to us on the very last day of the war. We were about to leave on the ship, but she just never showed up.
Do you know what happened to her?
So she could be alive.
I never found out. I worried for years, even hired people to look, but as far as I can tell, she up and vanished into smoke that day. The war had ground her down. I was upset, but not surprised.
Okay.
That's all I can think of for now. I'll see you around.
Of course. I look forward to it.
Bye. I wanted to ask about Hecate, but I guess that wasn't to be.